You know that feeling, right? You're running into this invisible wall in your career. You've got the skills, you've got the drive, you've got all the qualifications, but for some reason, that door to the next level just will not open. It's so frustrating. It makes you start to question everything, even your own value. But what if I told you that wall, it's not about your competence at all? What if it's a deliberate piece of architecture designed to keep you out? Well, today, we're not just going to look at that door. We're going to take it right off its hinges. Let's dive into the hidden system that controls access and opportunity in pretty much every circle you can think of. We're talking about the anatomy of social gatekeeping.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? We're not talking about loud, obvious power plays. This is about quiet, strategic control. See, real influence, it isn't about what happens inside the room. It's about who gets to decide the guest list. The gatekeeper is like a silent filter, a human algorithm whose main job is to protect the status quo, to preserve a very specific power structure. It's like the invisible velvet rope of the professional world. And once you understand how it works, well, that's the first step to just stepping right over it.
And here's the core misunderstanding that trips so many of us up. We think we're being evaluated. We think we're in a meritocracy where our skills and our track record are all that matter. But in a gate-kept environment, that's not what's happening. You're not being evaluated for competence. You're being screened for compliance. The real questions being asked are you going to fit into our existing power structure? Are you a threat to the person holding the key? And that explains the frustrating paradox of why pure talent on its own often isn't enough. It's not about being the best. It's about being seen as safe by the one who controls the gate.
All right, so let's actually put a name to these experiences, because this isn't just bad luck. It's not just office politics. No, this is a recognizable pattern. It's a system, and it has predictable parts. And the minute you can diagnose the problem, the minute you can see the architecture of that invisible wall, that's when you can start to navigate around it. The first step, though, is recognizing the symptoms. So, do any of these sound familiar to you? How about the social cold front? That's when the temperature in a room just drops the second a key person walks in. Conversations stop. A coded language starts up that you're just not a part of. Or what about the meeting before the meeting? You know, when you find out all the real decisions were made before you even got to the table. This stuff forces you into what I call perpetual auditioning, where you're constantly spending all your energy trying to prove yourself to this one person instead of, doing your actual job. And the results of this whole exhausting cycle, it's resource atrophy. Suddenly, your access to information, to the budget, to key projects, it all just mysteriously dries up. You're basically left on a wait list for a career you're already qualified for. See, the key thing to get here is that the gatekeeper isn't just a difficult person. They occupy a powerful structural position. They're what we call a resource choke point. Just think of them as the only toll booth on the only highway into town. If you want in, you have to go through them. By controlling the flow of information, introductions, opportunities, they create a total monopoly. Their power doesn't come from their own work. It comes from their control over your access to work. They've basically set themselves up as the sole broker for all the social capital in that space.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the symptoms. We see what it feels like. Now, let's look at the engine that's actually driving this whole system. We're going to shift gears here, away from the emotional experience of being blocked and into a cold, hard, mechanical breakdown of what's called the access validation loop. This is the mechanism, the machine, that's designed to make the gatekeeper absolutely essential by making you, the newcomer, completely dependent on them. So this whole system is built on an idea from sociology called structural holes. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Imagine you have 3 different teams at work: design, marketing, and engineering. They're all in their own little bubbles, right? Well, the gaps between those bubbles, those are the structural holes. The gatekeeper's power comes from being the only bridge that connects those separate groups. By being the one person who talks to marketing and engineering, they make themselves indispensable. And they don't just pass information back and forth, no. They filter it, they frame it, they control it. They make sure that all value has to flow through them.
And this is exactly how they leverage that position as the bridge. This access validation loop happens in 4 phases. First up, the informational monopoly. They make sure they are the only source for anything important. Second, they hit you with the Shibboleth Test. Now, a shibboleth is basically a password. It's insider jargon, an acronym, an inside joke. They use this stuff to test you. If you don't know the code, you're immediately flagged as an outsider. Third, even if you pass, you often get a poisoned introduction. Something like, "Hey everyone, this is Sarah, she's new." It sounds harmless, but that subtle framing immediately puts you in status debt. Now you have to work twice as hard just to prove you belong. And finally, number 4, the compliance payoff. You play their game, you make them feel important, you get access. But if you challenge them, or, God forbid, try to build your own bridges, you get shut out completely.
And right there, in that final phase, that's the moment control shifts entirely. Your career, your access, your future, it's not in your hands anymore. It's been handed over to the person who controls the network. Your agency has been systematically taken from you, not by force, but by the quiet, careful management of access. The trap has just closed.
But hang on. Why does everyone else go along with this, right? Why is one person's opinion so powerful it can just cancel out all the evidence of your actual talent? Well, the system doesn't work in a vacuum. It works because it taps into these deep-seated cognitive biases that are hardwired into every single one of us. So let's get into the psychology that makes this whole machine of exclusion so brutally effective.
Okay, so the main psychological lever here is something called the Homophily Principle. It sounds fancy, but it just means birds of a feather flock together. It's simple. We are wired, biologically, to trust people who are similar to us. It's an old evolutionary shortcut. Now here's the insidious part. A gatekeeper weaponizes this. By just subtly flagging you as different, oh, they're not really a fit, they're not one of us, they trigger the group's ancient unconscious threat detection system. And just like that, you're not a potential colleague anymore, you're a potential risk to the tribe.
And this is the big lie that makes it all work. The excuse you hear always sounds so noble, right? Oh, we're just protecting the culture. Or the classic, they're just not a good fit. But if you peel back that one layer, the real reason is what I call a status protection racket. It's all about keeping the existing power structure exactly as it is. The truth is, it's not that you're a bad fit for the team, it's that your competence is a direct threat to the gatekeeper's position. So there are a few different cognitive levers being pulled at the same time here. First, you've got the halo effect. Because the gatekeeper is trusted, their subjective opinion of you is treated like objective fact by everybody else. That in turn activates the group's threat detection system, which we just talked about. And then it's all amplified by the heuristic of scarcity, this powerful and usually wrong belief that this one person's approval is the only thing that matters, that their door is the only way in. You put those three things together and you have a psychological barrier that is almost impossible to break through with just facts and good performance.
Okay, we've taken the system apart. We've looked at the psychology that powers it. And I want to be clear, the point of all this isn't to discourage you, it's to arm you. Because awareness is the one thing that makes this entire system collapse. So now we shift from analysis to action. This is about empowerment. This is your toolkit of countermaneuvers to bypass the gate, take back your agency, and restore your own power. Now this, right here, this is the single most important part of this whole explainer. Before a single tactic will work, you have to make a fundamental shift in your own mind. You have to stop seeing yourself as a petitioner, someone standing outside the door, begging for permission to come in. Instead, you have to start seeing yourself as a network architect, someone who strategically designs their own paths to opportunity. A petitioner is passive. An architect is an active builder. You stop asking for a seat at the table, you start analyzing the blueprints so you can build your own.
So how does a network architect actually operate? Well, here are 4 key strategies. Number 1, build network redundancy. Number 2, perform a Shibboleth audit. Number 3, master the frame break pivot. And number 4, if you have to, deploy the bypass strategy. This is your toolkit for taking back what I call your cognitive sovereignty, your right to think and act for yourself, free from the gatekeeper's control. Let's break each one down. This first one, network redundancy, is crucial. It means you can never, ever allow one person to be your only link to an opportunity. If they are your single point of failure, your entire network is fragile and you're incredibly vulnerable. So the strategy is to systematically find other key people, other nodes in the network, and build real independent relationships with them. Go for coffee, offer to help on their projects, give them value directly. This isn't about being sneaky, it's about building a strong, resilient network. A real architect doesn't just stare at a locked gate, they look for a window, a side door, or they find the blueprints to build a new entrance.
Next up, the Shibboleth audit. Remember those insider tests, the jargon, the acronyms? Okay, your job is to perform an audit. Listen carefully in meetings, read old documents, learn the code. Now the purpose here is really important. It is not so you can fit in. The purpose is to neutralize the weapon they're using against you. Because when you can speak their language fluently, when you can refer to project history with precision, their main social test has zero power over you. You combine that with just unshakable professionalism, and you become impossible to dismiss as an outsider. Okay, the frame break pivot. This one is all about defending yourself in real time. It's about taking back control of your own professional identity, your executive sovereignty. So when a gatekeeper introduces you with that slightly negative frame like, this is Tom, he's new, you don't just stand there and take it. You immediately pivot and reframe yourself with a high-value fact. You say something like, thanks, Jane. Yep, new to the team and really excited to be here, especially after wrapping the Q3 launch at my last job, which broke all our previous records. Boom. Just like that, in one sentence, you have broken their frame, shown confidence, and taken back control of your own story, right there in front of everyone.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most powerful takeaway, the bypass strategy. Look, if a gatekeeper controls a choke point, sometimes the best move is to make their choke point completely irrelevant. How? You build a parallel network with the other talented people who are also being shut out. You collaborate with them, you share information, you create your own center of gravity. Because often, the combined power of the out group is way stronger than the little in group being guarded by one person. At the end of the day, a gatekeeper's power is just an illusion. It only works as long as everyone believes they need what's behind that door. Real power? That comes from creating so much value yourself that you don't have to ask for permission to enter. You build your own room, and pretty soon people will be asking you for the key.